Held items have been in the Pokemon series since Gen 2. They can be a handy tool during a playthrough, and they're a borderline necessity in competitive play. But there are some cases where Pokemon might be better off not holding an item, or getting rid of the one they do have as fast as they can. What's up, fellas? I'm Matt, and that's what Elias and I are gonna look at today. Alright, let's get started.
What's up? I'm Elias, and one common reason to go itemless is the move Acrobatics. It's a physical move that's normally 55 base power, but it doubles to 110 if the user isn't holding an item. This move has no other drawbacks, so it's a great option for the Pokemon that can learn it. Most other strong flying type moves have some kind of downside. Brave Bird does recoil damage, Hurricane is only 70% accurate, and Fly, Bounce, and Sky Attack are terrible because they take 2 turns. Drill Peck is pretty good, but many Pokemon can't learn it.
Acrobatics is a good move competitively for the Pokemon that get it, but it's not that widely distributed. One Pokemon that does get the move is Jumpluff. Its standard movesets don't include a held item, which lets it use Acrobatics effectively. That used to be the case for Talonflame as well, but nowadays it usually holds heavy-duty boots, because it's 4 times weak to Stealth Rock. Since it would rather hold an item to, stay alive, Talonflame's flying stab of choice is usually Brave Bird. Sure, it deals recoil damage, but it's a little stronger than Acrobatics, and it doesn't get weaker if you wear boots.
I get weaker if I wear boots.
That sounds like a you problem, buddy.
Acrobatics was absolutely busted in Gen 5 thanks to a set of items that only existed in this generation. The gems were effectively Diet Z crystals in black and white. If you hold a fire gem, for example, it'll boost the power of one fire type move by 50%, then get consumed. So Flare Blitz would be 180 power, but only the first time you use it. There was one gem for every type in the game, and the flying gem was one of the best gems out there, if not the best.
The flying gem pairs perfectly with Acrobatics because of the order of operations the game uses to calculate its power. If a flying gem holder uses Acrobatics, the gem is consumed before the move comes out. That means you get the 50% boost from the gem, then you also get the 2 times boost from Acrobatics, since the item is used up before the game checks to see if you have one. That makes flying gem Acrobatics effectively 165 power, which is fantastic. All of the gems were removed in Gen 6, with the exception of the normal gem for some reason, which now only boosts normal type moves by 30%. A fairy gem does exist in the game's code, but it's never been attainable in any game. We're getting off track here.
Acrobatics is also a great move for a playthrough. The games are generally pretty easy, so there's no need to go looking for good held items. You can usually get by with just your Pokemon's raw strength. If that's the way you decide to play, Acrobatics is one of the best moves in the game. Most moves with at least 100 power have some kind of drawback, but if you weren't planning on using held items anyways, Acrobatics is an exception.
Some Pokemon aim to get rid of their held item as fast as possible. The ability Unburden doubles your speed stat as soon as you lose your item or use it up. That can mean eating a berry, activating a one-time use item like a Focus Sash, or getting hit by Knockoff. Doubling your speed is a pretty big deal, so Unburden Pokemon often use consumable items to activate their ability.
A prime example of an Unburden user is Hawlucha. In Generation 6, the safest way to activate Unburden is the move Substitute. Hawlucha loses 25% of its max health to put a substitute in its place, which lets you drop its HP safely to eat a citrus berry. Hawlucha is already quite fast, clocking in with a base speed stat of 118. At level 100, its speed can get as high as 368. Then eating the berry to activate Unburden doubles that to 736, making it faster than every unboosted Pokemon in existence.
To make things even better, Hawlucha can also learn Acrobatics, which is the perfect move to pair with Unburden. They both reach their maximum potential when you lose your item. Fun fact, by the way, Unburden's name in Japanese translates to Acrobatics. That's pretty fitting, considering how well the move and ability synergize with each other. Hawlucha can also learn Swords Dance, which makes its moves hit even harder.
In Gen 7, some new consumable items were introduced, which gave Hawlucha a new method to use Unburden. The Electric, Grassy, Psychic, and Misty seeds were added, which boost the holder's stats by 1 stage if the corresponding terrain is active. The Electric and Grassy seeds boost defense, and the Misty and Psychic seeds boost special defense. To activate these items, you can pair Hawlucha with a terrain center on your team.
The Guardian legendaries have the terrain abilities Hawlucha needs to thrive, so in Gen 7, it's virtually mandatory to have one of them as a teammate. In Gen 8, Rillaboom also got Grassy Surge, so that's an option as well. Between the seeds, Swords Dance, and Unburden, Hawlucha gets +1 in the defensive stat of your choice, +2 attack, doubled speed, and double strength Acrobatics. It can also learn high power fighting stabs like High Jump Kick and Close Combat. So despite not having the greatest stats in the universe, Hawlucha is a force to be reckoned with.
Slurpuff uses Unburden in a somewhat similar way as well. It can learn the move Belly Drum, which cuts its HP in half, but maxes out its attack stat in exchange. The Citrus Berry activates at half health, so it'll always activate if it gets a Belly Drum off. You know, as long as you make sure its HP stat is an even number. Fortunately, that's pretty easy to do. You just have to give it a few HP EVs and dump the rest into attack and speed. If your health is an odd number, using Belly Drum at full health won't activate the Citrus Berry. In that case, you'll miss the mark by just 1 HP since Belly Drum rounds down.
Anyway, Belly Drum Unburden is an incredible combo. It gives you +6 attack and the equivalent of +2 speed. Once you get a Belly Drum off, you can go to town on the opposing team using Supercharged Play Rough as well as Drain Punch to stay healthy. You can also use moves like, oh, that's kind of it actually. Slurpuff's physical move pool kind of sucks. Oh well, you can't win them all I guess. It's still a strong Pokemon. Excelgor uses Unburden in a slightly different way. One of its possible roles in competitive play is as a suicide lead. Did we just get demonetized for saying suicide?
Yeah. We did. Good job.
That means its job is to start the battle off by setting up entry hazards, then die. It's one of the fastest Pokemon in the game, with a base speed stat of 145. That means it's a great option to set up spikes, since very few opponents can hit Excelgor first and knock it out.
Excelgor's item of choice as a suicide lead is the Focus Sash, another consumable item.
You just got us demonetized again.
Excelgor's item of choice as a lead that does not sustain its health for a very long period of time. If the sash gets used up while it's setting up spikes, Unburden will activate. That allows it to set up a second layer of spikes even if the opposing Pokemon is holding a choice scarf. Unburden boosted Excelgor is insanely fast, so it'll virtually always move first on the second turn if it loses the sash, unless your opponent is using something aggressively silly like Agility Regieleki. Keep in mind though that Unburden only activates if you lose your item, so it won't work if you never had one in the first place. That's why Hawlucha has to hold something whack like a seed, and why it needs specific teammates to thrive.
How much HP do you have, Elias?
2.
Well, you gotta go hit the gym and make that 3.
Okay.
Not holding an item also gives you an immunity to a certain move. Poltergeist is the strongest physical ghost type move in the game, aside from Shadow Force, Giratina signature move. Poltergeist's base power is 110, which is really solid. It was introduced in Sword and Shield's Isle of Armor DLC, and it's become the ghost type of choice for a bunch of Pokemon. Fun fact, by the way, Poltergeist is the only ghost type move with an accuracy lower than 100%. It took 8 generations to get a ghost move that can miss without accuracy or evasion shenanigans. That's kinda wild, but I digress.
Anyway, Poltergeist deals damage by controlling the target's item, making it attack its own holder. If the target isn't holding an item, the move fails. The ghost type is super effective against itself, so some ghosts might choose not to hold an item. That makes them immune to opposing Poltergeists from Pokemon like Gourgeist, Frostlass, and Golurk. The ghost versus ghost matchup is usually dangerous, but not running an item can give you an advantage. Psychic types are also weak to ghost, but they're less likely to go itemless to avoid Poltergeist.
Knockoff is a dark type move, and its power is also based on whether the target has an item. If they're not holding anything, Knockoff is 65 base power, which isn't very strong. That's on par with moves you find during the middle of a playthrough. But if they do have an item, the move is boosted by 50%, making it 97.5 power. The target loses their held item though, so this is almost always a one-time boost against any given Pokemon. In any case, Knockoff is still one of the best moves in the game. Getting rid of the target's item is a huge deal, and it hits like a truck when you do. If they don't have an item in the first place though, Knockoff hits like, I don't know, a smart car? You know, they used to offer these goofy looking things as prizes on Wheel of Fortune. Anyway, it's not terribly common, but some Pokemon will pass on the chance to hold an item, primarily to avoid taking big damage from Knockoff.
Vileplume is one of the best Pokemon in Sword and Shield and North America.
North America?
North America. It can be difficult to kill because it can learn moves like Giga Drain and Strength Sap. You can also give it EVs in its defense stats to make it even bulkier. Black Sludge is a pretty good item because it acts like leftovers for poison types. But Vileplume doesn't necessarily need the healing option because Strength Sap restores a ton of HP, especially if you used it against a physical attacker. So sometimes you might be better off going itemless on your Vileplume. That gives it a better matchup against something like Knockoff Drapion and a way better matchup against Poltergeist users. By not holding an item, Vileplume will never take boosted damage from Knockoff, which makes it even harder to KO in some cases. Of course, it's also immune to Poltergeist entirely that way. Vileplume isn't weak to Dark or Ghost, but being able to reduce or eliminate damage is always nice. You know, I've noticed that when I make like an S sound, that my right canines clack together, but not my left canines.
I feel like you should see a dentist about that.
It's just the way my jaw is shaped.
I don't care, go see a dentist.
No.
Tangrowth also doesn't run an item in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl OU. Huh. Haven't thought about that format in a while. Anyway, Tangrowth is one of the best Pokemon in this metagame, sitting in the A tier of the viability rankings. It doesn't hold an item for similar reasons to Vileplume, namely surviving Knockoff. It's a bulky Pokemon on the physical side, but it has to balk at holding an item, thanks to another A tier Pokemon. You know, I may have written this script, but it still feels weird seeing the word balk used in a context other than baseball.
The runner advances to second base.
Ah, man.
Without an item, a full health Tangrowth will always survive a non-critical knockoff from Crawdaunt, even if it's boosted by a Life Orb and one Swords Dance. But if Tangrowth does have an item, knockoff will be supercharged and it's at the risk of being one-shot. By not holding an item, Tangrowth is able to beat the Pokemon it's supposed to beat more effectively. Despite not holding leftovers, Tangrowth can heal with the move Giga Drain as well as its ability Regenerator.
Thief is another move that's better if the user doesn't hold an item. It was added in Gen 2, and as the name implies, this move steals the target's held item. Well, most of the time at least. In Gen 2, Thief has a 1 in 256 chance of failing to steal the item. Yeah, the Gen 1 miss glitch didn't go away entirely in Gen 2, it just got reincarnated in various different forms. One not so serious discussion about reincarnation later. When I come back as a salamander, I will be telling you I told you so in salamanderese.
Okay, well, I'm going to be a hawk. I'm gonna eat that salamander, and then I won't have to know. Anyway, Thief won't steal anything if you're already holding an item, so going itemless is reasonably common in Generation 2. You'd come into the battle empty-handed with the intention of stealing a serving of leftovers. Back then, the move and item selections were way more limited, so, you know, gotta make it work somehow. Leftovers are by far the best item in the game. In fact, many competitive teams in Gen 2 will have 5 or 6 leftovers holders because there simply aren't any good alternatives for most Pokemon.
Mischievous and Jinx commonly use Thief in Gen 2 OU. Stealing an opponent's leftovers can be absolutely devastating, especially since Gen 2 games tend to last a long time. Losing the ability to passively heal will get you knocked out way faster. On top of that, the Thief user actually gets to hold the leftovers themselves, which knockoff users in later generations can't do.
One Pokemon that's particularly scared of Thief is Marowak, thanks to the Thick Club. This item doubles Cubone and Marowak's attack stat, but it doesn't work on any other Pokemon. By using Thief, you immediately cut Marowak's damage output in half, which is a huge deal. This is unrelated, but while we were researching this video, and by we, I mean Matt found that Thief will never steal mail. Yeah, what do you know? Even in the Pokemon world, it's illegal to read someone else's mail. Too bad stealing everything else is perfectly fine. Who do I call to get these laws changed?
You know, you can take credit for the research. I'm not gonna stop you.
No, I'm not gonna take credit for the research. There's another way to steal items, but it's not very good. Magician was added in Gen 6, and several new Pokemon got access to it. If you hit another Pokemon with an attack, Magician will activate and steal their item. But it won't work if you're already holding something, the same way Thief doesn't.
New Gen 10 Pokemon, Henry Richardson.
Haha, I get the reference.
Here's the thing though, Magician isn't really useful because there are a lot more viable items, and it's much easier to steal something you don't want. When you use Thief in Gen 2, you're virtually guaranteed to steal leftovers, which is almost universally a good thing. Even if you don't steal leftovers, whatever you do get isn't gonna hurt you. But you get to decide when you want to use Thief. On the other hand, Magician will activate the first time you attack, and that's that. If you get an item you don't want, tough toenails, you're stuck with it.
If Delphox uses Magician instead of its standard ability Blaze, for example, it's entirely possible that it ends up with a useless or even detrimental item. Delphox is a special attacker, so it won't want to steal something like a Choice Band, for example. That'll lock Delphox into a move, but it won't boost said move's damage. A Choice Band would also prevent you from using stat boosting moves for the rest of the game. You'd get locked into the boosting move and not be able to attack after that, so if you're running moves like Calm Mind, you can just forget about those.
Hi Elias, how calm is your mind right now? 1,000 years later.
Probably not very.
Let me do a thorough inspection of my own mental state real quick.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I did like a systems diagnostics on myself.
In the same vein, an Assault Vest can also be a problematic item to steal. This item boosts your special defense, sure, but it completely cuts off access to status moves. If you steal an Assault Vest, you can no longer use moves like Toxic or Wish. Black Sludge is a great item, as long as you're a poison type. If a non-poison type uses it, they take damage from it instead of healing. Last time I checked, Delphox is Fire Psychic, so it absolutely does not want to steal this item either.
Magician is a pretty neat concept on paper, but it just doesn't pan out in practice. You're better off bringing an item of your own to the battle instead of coming in with nothing and trying to steal someone else's. If you want to get rid of your opponent's items, knockoff is a better choice. Besides stealing something detrimental, it's also easy to end up with something you just don't have any use for. If you're not using any 2-turn moves, a Power Herb is useless for you. If you're fully evolved, Eviolite won't do anything either. We could keep going, but you get the idea. There's like a zillion items now, and a lot of them aren't universally beneficial.
Another Pokemon with Magician is Klefki.
I was thinking of getting into lockpicking too. I know what I'll do. I'll break into somebody's locker and I'll leave them Mets tickets.
How did I know? How did I know that's what you were gonna say?
Anyways, Klefki, yeah?
Yeah. PSA, don't use it. Prankster is an absolutely incredible ability, because it makes Klefki one of the most annoying Pokemon around. It can learn all sorts of status moves, which get boosted to +1 priority by Prankster. That's way more valuable than stealing an item you might not have a use for. Just bring your own knickknacks, man. You can also try turning down the recording level and see if that fixes it.
I had it shoved down my throat, so that was probably the issue.
Don't eat your microphone, Elias.
I like the taste.
You concern me. My man is about to become the world's worst prosecutor. Your
Honor, my client did it. No further questions. When does the new episodes come out?
Wait a minute, it's been nearly a full year. Oh, July 29th.
Damn it, that's the day I start work. Well, that's all we got for today. Leave a comment about Chimecho, not Chingling. We'll see you all next time. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.